Coming up in this week's video, 7 reasons why you might want to avoid dairy. Hey everybody, it's Kalymnios here from thethoughtgym.com, here helping you become that superhuman leader that I know that you can be, giving you everything that you need in order to achieve that. And this week, if you want to be a superhuman leader, you want to feel superhuman, you've got to be sure about what you're putting into your body is actually serving you. Too many times we just consume, we don't give it much thought, but what goes into our body is super important. And this week I want to talk about dairy. Dairy is all over the news. There are lots and lots of plant-based substitutes now for milks and cheeses. You can get nut cheeses, you can get oat milks and hemp milks and rice milks and coconut milks. Why is this explosion in non-dairy products happening? Well, here are 7 reasons why you might want to consider giving up dairy. The first one is that it potentially could be a cancer-causing agent. The protein, casein, which is the main protein found in milk, was also the protein that was the subject of the study detailed in T. Colin Campbell's book, The China Study, which looked at the diet and lifestyle of thousands and thousands of Chinese people and noticed various correlations, not necessarily causations, but correlations. Now, I know that this book has had its critics, but really you need to be reading it with an open mind and draw your own conclusions rather than reading reviews about it. Now, the thing is, they did a little experiment there where they introduced something carcinogenic to a population of rats, I believe, and then wanted to see whether the consumption of protein affected whether that thing became cancerous. So carcinogenic means it could be a cancer-causing toxin. In this case it was Aflatoxin, I believe. And what they did is they fed these animals 5% protein, animal protein, casein in this case, and then cancer was fine. They gave it 20% protein, which is similar levels to a lot of people eating animal proteins these days, or they actually maybe even have more than 20%, and it kind of shot up. The cancer shot up, the growth metabolized, it went out of control. As soon as they went back to 5%, it kind of stabilized where it was, back up to 20, grew again. This wasn't replicated with plant-based proteins where they had 5% and 20% plant-based proteins and gave the cancerous agent into the rats. Didn't have any effect. So casein was the agent that was used in that experiment, which is also the main protein in milk. So do you maybe want to start looking into it and consider alternatives if that is indeed the case? Number 2, we are sold on the idea of milk being good for our bones, we need it, got milk campaigns, all of this stuff throughout the 80s and 90s that I was subjected to. You need it for the calcium. It is true, your bones do need calcium. They also need vitamin D, and yes, you can get vitamin D from milk only because they've added it in there, not because that's something naturally occurring. Vitamin D you get from the sunlight. You can also get supplements. You can get it from mushrooms as well that produce their vitamin D. But you need vitamin D in conjunction with calcium. Calcium's source is not just milk. There is calcium in literally tons of other vegetables. As long as you're getting plenty of vegetables, leafy greens, and I know people say, well, it's easier to have the milk. Yes, it is easier to have the milk, maybe, in the short term. But do you really want to risk getting some kind of illness later because you're not having enough veg, which you know that you need to have veg for loads and loads of benefits. But in terms of osteoporosis and milk, now what we're looking at is, are we having strong bones by drinking lots of milk? There is a kind of an interesting statistic which shows that the highest countries that consume the highest amounts of milk and dairy products are also, as it happens, the highest countries with most cases of osteoporosis or hip fractures, which is a measure of their bone strength. So you're looking at basically the top 5 countries of consuming milk, but also the top 5 countries with osteoporosis and hip fractures and all of these kind of ailments of the bones. So you think, well, if milk is supposed to be so good for you, why are you having high rates of osteoporosis? So that is something else to think about, number 2. Number 3 is maybe a possible heart disease. Now, when we're looking at heart disease, I think there's some new science coming out, new publications coming out, which is showing that maybe saturated fat and cholesterol are not in fact causes of heart disease, and that may well be the case. But if it were not the case, if the conventional thinking holds true in that saturated fat and cholesterol is bad for the heart, then you want to look at milk as well, because that is high in saturated fat, it is high in cholesterol. You can't really, your body makes enough cholesterol on its own, it doesn't really need exogenous cholesterol, but you do need cholesterol because it's very essential for the hormones. But if you're having too much maybe of dietary cholesterol, that's probably not a good thing. And milk, unfortunately, is quite high in cholesterol, it's high in saturated fat. It might not be the best kind of saturated fat. I do believe saturated fat is good for you, things like coconut fat, avocados, the fat from nuts and seeds, I do believe those are good for you. Animal fat from dairy, I'm not so sure. So you may want to look into possible causes of heart disease when linked to dairy. Number 4 is all the toxins and chemicals that go into your milk. Let's look at it, right? Milk is not the milk from one cow. It's not some farmer going out there doing the udders and getting milk from one cow. You've got hundreds of different cows in there, okay? Not to mention that these cows are under duress. They're not really roaming free. They are being forcibly impregnated. There's creating stress in their body, largely given antibiotics, growth hormones, all sorts of other chemicals in there to help them continue to make milk, to help them not quote unquote get ill, even though they are kind of not roaming around free, they're not really happy. And even if they are, think about it. Do you really want to be drinking milk from hundreds of different cows? And in fact, do we even want to be drinking milk at all when we are the only species on the planet that I'm aware of that drinks milk not only past its own weaning ages of like around 2 years old, but also milk from another species, not even our own species. If you're going to drink milk into your adulthood, probably should be human milk and not actually animal milk, which is designed to make a baby calf grow to a huge size and weight in about 12 to 14 months. And we're drinking it like it's going out of fashion. So, lots of toxins, lots of human growth hormones, antibiotics, and we know that antibiotics have been given to cows not just to prevent illness, but because it plumps them up and makes them fatter as well. So it's probably doing the same to you because you're drinking lots of antibiotics if you're drinking regular milk. Number 5, we've got a link between diabetes and milk consumption, dairy consumption. Not to mention that when you consume a lot of dairy products, you're consuming a lot of fat, you're more likely to put on weight, and that is also linked to obesity and diabetes, or diabesity as it's sometimes known. So you might want to look at considering something else, especially if you're vegetarian. A lot of vegetarians that I'm aware of, instead of eating meat, there'll be a substitute, which will be a cheese substitute, a main cheese thing. So you're having a lot of cheese, a lot of dairy, a lot of milk, way more than probably is going to be comfortable within certain limits. So you might want to look at that when it comes to your milk consumption, especially if you have got diabetes. Maybe that might have something to do with it. Okay, number 6 is about allergies, and this is actually the reason why I came off milk around, it's 2008 now that I stopped consuming dairy products, because someone had drawn my attention to the fact that milk can actually affect my sinuses. I grew up for my entire life with sinus issues, earaches, nosebleeds, runny nose, blocked nose, and I just thought it was natural for me, and that was it. And it was only when someone made me aware, and it took me about 2 years to actually believe them, I suppose. So I found out about it in 2006. By 2008, I was ready to give it a go. I went 2 months, I think, over Lent without dairy. I noticed that my sinuses improved probably 80%. The last 20% was giving up wheat and gluten, which also is inflammatory, and that kind of sorted them out. And now I know if I have any dairy, if I have any fried food, if I have certain types of food, I know that that will affect me. But many people that I know will clear up their sinus issues, their allergies, all sorts of things when they give up dairy. So it's one of those common aggravants to allergies, wheat and dairy. So if you can give up wheat and dairy, notice the difference to what's going on in your body. I don't know anyone, literally, I don't know anyone who has stopped taking dairy and felt worse. It's not to say there isn't someone out there probably maybe watching this video, but no one I know personally or read about or heard about when they've stopped dairy have felt worse, provided obviously they're eating a balanced diet elsewhere. So you might want to look at that, especially if you suffer from, I don't know, eczema, psoriasis, skin conditions, asthma, runny nose, blocked nose. It's no fun when you can't properly breathe overnight. I found I had so much more energy in the morning because I could breathe through both my nostrils overnight instead of just one. So definitely look into maybe just go in a month, see what happens, no harm, no foul. And number 7 is that dairy is very acidic for your body. We want to maintain a nice balance of our pH in our body, our blood in particular. It always stays inside a narrow range, but the thing is that it needs to work quite hard to do that when we put acidic things into our body. There are many things that are acidic for our body, from stress, pollution, excessive exercise, meat, coffee, processed foods, sodas, crisps, fried food, kind of everything really, except for some vegetables. Even fruit is quite acidic on the body, most fruits. But dairy especially, and if we're having it in pretty much everything, and if you look at packets, you'll see that there's dairy pretty much in all things that you wouldn't even consider. Even crisps, they put milk in things. It's crazy, it's everywhere. And it's quite acidic for the body. In fact, leaches nutrients from your body, so you're getting in this calcium, you believe, but actually leaching things like calcium from your bones, phosphorus from your bones, trying to neutralize the acidic component. And you want your food to be largely alkaline based, which is largely vegetable based, and a small percentage to be maybe the acid form of things like grains and possibly meats if you eat meats, but whole foods, and I would avoid dairy. So there are my 7 reasons to avoid dairy, from cancer and osteoporosis and heart disease and diabetes and toxins and allergies and acids. So lots of reasons, in my opinion, why you want to avoid dairy, but like anything, you can't take my word for it, but what you can do is take action. My recommendation, a bit like me, just go 30 days, 60 days without any dairy, check all the labels as well. So go without dairy. You can substitute plenty of different milks out there, so that's not a problem. A little bit more challenging for cheeses, especially if you're addicted to cheese, which again should be an indication of avoiding something that you're addicted to. But there are options for cheeses as well. I would stay away from the kind of processed vegan cheeses, they're no good either. But maybe someone's homemade nut cheeses might be quite good, or you might be able to find alternatives. But just give it 30 days, 60 days ideally, in 2 months, even in a month, probably even in a week of going off dairy. You're going to notice, even if it's none of those 7 reasons, something's going to change in you. I'd love to hear your thoughts, especially if you've already given up dairy. What do you think? Let me know in the comments section below, because I'm really wanting to be engaged in this conversation. I know for me personally, and everyone that I've met who's given up dairy has found it beneficial. Some people do struggle with especially the cheese part, but really do your own research. If you don't believe or buy into what I'm saying, that's perfectly okay. All I know is that I feel infinitely better off of dairy, especially when you think most of the population of the planet, about 75% of the population of the planet, are in fact lactose intolerant or lactose sensitive, or even sensitive to various proteins found in the milk. I know there's different milks, A1, A2. The milk industry fighting back, trying to tell us that we need it, but just think about it. This is milk designed as the perfect food for a baby calf, not an adult human, okay? Doesn't make sense to be drinking it. Even if it's like cow's milk, goat's milk, camel milk. Look, they may have some benefits, but is it really what we should be drinking? I don't know. That, to me, is something that you have to decide for yourself. For me personally, right now, I don't feel like I need it in my life. I feel better without it. I suggest you give it a go. All right, that's enough about bashing the dairy industry. I'm sure I'm going to get some pullback from them on that. Until next time, remember, subscribe, like, share, comment, and stay strong, stay tuned.